African languages are not vernacular. Now, you can't call African languages vernacular. And for no reason at all can African languages be vernacular. Now, how do I mean? Unfortunately, the Oxford Dictionary did not do justice to that word. The Oxford Dictionary translated vernacular to mean the language of the primitive. Are we primitive? African child, ask yourself, are you primitive? Am I primitive? We're not primitive in any form. This was just an attempt for the colonial master to create a form of superiority because they didn't want to learn our language. They wanted to force their language on us to be able to communicate with us. It's a form of superiority display that was in action. African languages cannot be vernacular. My language cannot be vernacular. Your language cannot be vernacular. You see, when you look at it critically, like I said earlier, it was an attempt to feel superior. It was an attempt to make us communicate with them in the way they want and the way they want it to be. When you say primitive, before the colonial master came, we had our system. We had our educational system. We had our communal system. We had our sociological system. We had our political system. We had all these systems in place before they came. Primitive people cannot have system in place. I can give an example. For instance, in the Oyo Kingdom, every road, whether pathway or whatever road you can think of, leads to the palace. That was a system of governance that from every quarter of the town, all the road leads to the palace. It was a system of governance. There was a reason for that. The young people were trying to set a standard for relationship, for governance in that format. So people who have grown this much, who have developed this much, cannot be primitive. So our language are not primitive language. And our language, when you look at our language very critically, you discover that there are proverbs, there are adages, there are words in our language that signifies development. Let's give an example. Ogbon Oduni Weriemi. The Yoruba believes that there must be developmental process in every system that we have put in place. That's why they said Ogbon Oduni Weriemi simply means the wisdom of yesteryear is madness today. Simply means the wisdom of yesteryears may not be applicable. As a matter of fact, is not applicable in today's development. However, the Yorubas in our language already believe that development must be progressive. Development must be progressive. Now, let's cite examples before I move on. If you have comments, please don't just put it in the comment section for continuous conversation on this subject matter, that African languages are not primitive. African languages are not vernacular. So, if a man communicates among his people in his language, and is trying to develop in another man's language, that's chaotic. How does he relate that together? If I speak Yoruba, or you speak Zulu, you speak Twi as a Ghanaian, whatever dialect you speak, whatever language you speak in your capital of Africa, I speak that language among my people. And when I leave our house to go to school, I am taught development in another man's language. That is chaotic. That does not match. No wonder our development has been so much affected. Let's take, for instance, biology. In the colonial master's language, biology. If only biology is taught in Yoruba for the Yoruba people, in Twi for the Ghanaians, for the South Africans in their language, for the Gambians in their language, and every other person in their language, how much do you think we will have known of this subject matter over the years? It will have helped our development more than it is today. When our language is used to teach us in our schools, as we use it in our homes for developmental process, it will help us to further develop in all our endeavors. African languages are not vernacular. They are instruments of development for us, which was truncated by the colonial masters. German is Germany's language of education. Chinese is China's language of education. French is France's language of education. Likewise, the Indians. It's only in Africa that we are trying to develop or get ourselves educated through a foreign language. No wonder our development is the way it is. No country, no people, no community developed without developing through their language or without developing with the process of using their language developed, because they are familiar with their language. They understand their language properly so much that everything appeals to them only in their language first. Likewise, I'll digress a little. As a Yoruba man, when we sing in our language, it makes more meaning to us. But when we sing in a foreign language, we try to find meaning to it. It's always chaotic, looking for meaning for it. I've been in religious centers where songs were sung in the language of the people, and I saw the reaction. And I've been in religious centers where songs were not sung in the language of the people, but in a foreign language, and I've seen the reactions of the people. If the Ghanaian sings in their language, it makes more meaning to them. If you educate a Ghanaian in his language, it will make more meaning to him. Likewise, if you educate a Yoruba man in his language, it will make more meaning to him. Likewise, if you educate an Hausa man in his language, he will love to be educated, because that is not alien to him, not strange to him. But what do we have today? Forcing ourselves to be educated in a foreign language. It's chaotic. If a man will not develop in his language, how can he develop in another man's language? That's secondary to him, not primary. He will have to first go and learn the language before he will now begin to understand the meaning of the language. What a process! What a chaotic process! What a long process! Let me develop through my language. Let me understand things from my language. It will help me. Well, I'm not saying that the fact that there is lingua franca across Africa and other communities are absolutely wrong. It's just a means of, okay, for instance, if I speak Yoruba and the other person speaks Hausa, we need a common language. Of course, yes, we need a common language. But what I'm emphasizing is our languages are not vernacular. Our languages are supposed to be instruments of our development. There's nothing wrong in learning the colonial master's education, but there is everything wrong in not translating the colonial master's education to each and every one of our language, so that we can better understand and use it also as an instrument for our development. Of course, nothing is wrong in importing technology. That's what I'm emphasizing now. Nothing is wrong in importing technology and breaking the same technology down into our languages, into our ways, so that we can have a better understanding of this technology to develop ourselves, but not taking it hook, line, and sinker like we are nobody, or like we are truly primitive. Africans, wake up, rise up. Your language is your power for development. Your language is your instrument of development. African language is our instrument of development for this continent called Africa. It's not only a problem with the colonial master, it's also a problem with us Africans. Now, let me give an example. If only the Ifa believers will do justice to all the Odifas, all the verses of Ifas, and translate them into other African language, it will make it very easy for other Africans to understand and make a choice either to follow Ifa worshiping or not. If the Christian religion will take it upon themselves and translate the Bible to all the African languages, it will give a better understanding to these religions and make people to make their choice. Likewise, the Holy Quran. If only Africans can have it in their languages, it will inform our choice and our understanding of the Islamic religion. So we're only doing ourselves a lot of disservice if we don't have access to these things in our language, because of the understanding that translating it to their language will bring to them. I don't want to delve too much into religious activities and all of that, but what I'm trying to emphasize is the fact that our language is our instrument of development, whether spiritually, whether physically, whether technologically, name it. Our language is important. Education is supposed to be a medium of passing knowledge from generation to generation, and not just passing knowledge the same way it has always been from generation to generation, but improving on it from generation to generation. Like I said earlier, in the Low Yoruba language, for us to have Ogbon Oduni Were Mi in our language, in our belief system, simply shows that we believe that development must be progressive and not stagnant. I want to draw a conclusion that if only the colonial master did justice to studying our languages initially, like some of them are doing now, they probably would have referred to African languages in a better form. They will have referred to us in a better form and not vernacular, and not the Oxford translation of vernacular that call it primitive, the language of the primitive people. We're not primitive. Education is not limited to the four walls of classroom. Education is when a child grows up, Chomo Shiro, as it's growing as a little boy, as a little girl. Chomo Imweyo Ninobe. Does he know the measure of salt in a soup as a young growing girl? Those are part of education. So it's always good to educate in one's language, and it makes it better. It's a challenge to our educational system in Africa. Now please, let's take a clue from this and begin to let our people, our children, learn with their language. It will take us further than we can ever imagine in Africa. Oriafrica. To enjoy more of this conversation, please drop your comment in the comment section. Let's discuss further. And if you have questions, drop in the comment section. If you do not agree with some of the things I said, drop it in the comment section. And if you want to add more to what I've just said, you enjoyed it, drop it in the comment section. Let's have beautiful conversation together. Please, no abusive words. Let's just have conversation on this subject matter. A little here, a little there. Thank you very much. Oriafrica. By Ori, guided by Africa. Oriafrica.